Good afternoon. It's August 28th, 2025. These are the four things you need to know this afternoon. Today's headlines take us from Chinese laundering rings to American GDP, from streaming disputes that shape how millions get their news to the death of print at a historic newspaper. Up first, Chinese money laundering through the American banking system. The Wall Street Journal reveals this week that Chinese money laundering networks have pushed hundreds of billions with a B of dollars through U.S. banks in recent years. Regulators say the flow aren't just financial crimes. They're fueling Mexican cartels, fentanyl smuggling, and capital flight from inside China itself. According to Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, U.S. banks filed more than 137,000 suspicious activity reports between 2021 and 2024 involving Chinese nationals or their intermediaries. The estimated total of funds funneled into U.S. banks, around $312 billion. That's nearly the size of Finland's entire economy, for perspective. One major culprit, weak compliance programs. In fact, TD Bank paid a $3 billion fine for allowing illicit Chinese money to move through its accounts, linked both to drug proceeds and underground Chinese banking systems. Why does it matter? Well, because the money laundering isn't an abstract financial crime. It bankrolls America's biggest domestic security threat, fentanyl. The drug epidemic killed tens of thousands of Americans a year. It's funded in large part by Chinese-run networks that exploit the U.S. banking loopholes. And remember, the Chinese Communist Party is not unaware of these operations. The same government that censors the internet, blocks capital flows, and suppresses dissent can certainly crack down on illicit networks if it wanted to. That it doesn't actually speaks volumes about where its head is and its priorities, undermining us. The lesson is multifaceted. Enforce existing laws with teeth. Banks must feel pain if they knowingly or negligently enable cartel-leaked Chinese flows. Cut red tape where it stops action. Compliance data should move faster from bank reports to federal prosecutors. This isn't just finance. It's actually national security by another name. Up next, the GDP. It's revised up, a 3.3% GDP for the second quarter. Now, the Commerce Department revised its second quarter GDP growth estimate to 3.3% from an initial 3%. On paper, it's welcome news. It shows that despite tariffs, slowing global demand, and higher borrowing costs, the American economy is still moving forward better than any other economy on the planet. The growth came from several sectors, and this is where you can kind of see some of the trouble. Consumer spending, especially in healthcare, digital services, and automobiles. Corporate investment, particularly in AI, logistics software, and infrastructure, and government outlays, thanks to ongoing infrastructure spending. 3.3% looks good, but here's the paradox. If the economy were as booming as some in Washington claim, the Federal Reserve wouldn't be talking about cutting rates, nor would the administration. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has already warned about a slowing labor market and fragility in housing. Those are warning signs. What it means is that growth is uneven. Tech and healthcare, they're roaring. Manufacturing and housing are sputtering. Families at the lower end of the income spectrum are spending more, but they're now saving less. And credit card delinquencies, which is an early indicator of problems, that's ticking up still. The story isn't just the headline GDP number. It's whether the growth is sustainable without the government propping it up. If Washington spends trillions to inflate the denominator, that's not organic prosperity. It's artificial. The real approach, empower private capital investment by rolling back regulatory hurdles. That's what the Trump administration is doing. Cut energy costs by unleashing domestic production. That's what the Trump administration is doing. And reform taxes to reward productivity rather than penalizing it. Also something the Trump administration is doing. A 3.3% GDP is encouraging, but without free market foundations, it's fragile. The goal here isn't temporary growth. It's lasting prosperity rooted in productivity. And unfortunately, something else the Trump administration is doing is massive government spending. A tense standoff is underway between Fox and YouTube TV. It may soon leave millions without access to Fox News, Fox Sports, or local Fox affiliates. The companies reached only a short extension this week. If they don't finalize the terms, subscribers could see blackouts just as football season begins. The issue is a carriage fee. Fox wants higher payments for its content. YouTube TV argues it can't keep raising subscriber rates indefinitely. As a YouTube TV subscriber, I assure you, no, it cannot. On its face, it's just business, but for viewers, well, the consequences are broader. Fox News isn't just another channel. It's the most watched cable news network and one of the most watched networks in America. It's one of the few large platforms where right-leaning voices get consistent visibility. If YouTube TV subscribers lose Fox, that means millions, particularly younger cord cutters, lose a primary pipeline for conservative commentary on TV. It's how free speech gets curtailed today, not by government censorship, by distribution disputes that quietly sideline certain voices. Free speech does not mean Fox has a right to carriage fees on its own terms, but it does mean we should be honest about the stakes. If large platforms squeeze out key networks, the result isn't a fair marketplace of ideas. It's one less conservative outlet in an already hostile media environment. Lastly, this one hits close to home. May seem insignificant to you, but it's actually a big deal. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is Georgia's largest newspaper and one of the South's oldest news institutions, will stop printing physical newspapers at the end of the year. Management says the future's digital. They're investing in apps, newsletters, and video. They're cutting 30 jobs tied to print production. This isn't just an Atlanta story. It's part of a nationwide trend. Local newspapers collapsing or abandoning print, replaced by digital-only formats. Some succeed. Many fade into clickbait operations with less local accountability. The AJC's challenge is emblematic. Once a powerhouse covering civil rights, politics, and business, its print edition was already shrinking. Fewer pages, fewer subscribers, higher costs. Moving to digital may save money, but the danger is clear. Without a physical presence, will the paper still reach older readers? Will investigative resources shrink further? There's a deeper concern, too. As local news vanishes, national narratives dominate for everyone, making national politics the focus for everyone. Instead of city councils and school boards being covered by beat reporters, stories filter down through partisan national outlets. And that's bad for civic life at the local level. The solution isn't nostalgia for newsprint. It's rebuilding and committing to local journalism models that are accountable to readers, not political patrons. Subscription models, nonprofit partnerships, even church-based or civic-based reporting ventures could fill the gap. What matters is what communities need. They need watchdogs. The AJC going digital is both survival and surrender. Survival because it keeps the newsroom alive. Surrender because it marks the end of an era where the printed page was the daily anchor of civic conversation. I can only wish them the best of luck on this. I admit I prefer paper to the screen. I'm in the minority on this, I know. I would much prefer a daily Wall Street Journal and AJC that shows up in the morning. But unfortunately, the world is moving on from where I am and how I get my news. 4 stories today. Chinese laundering networks remind us money crimes are national security threats. A 3.3% GDP looks healthy, but it's only while free markets can engage it. A Fox YouTube TV fight shows how fragile conservative media access is in a digital economy. And the Atlanta AJC saying goodbye to print reminds us of the civic void local journalism still hasn't really figured out to fill. And again, my best to the AJC, hoping they can figure it out. These are the 4 things to know this afternoon. I'm Erick Erickson. Have a great afternoon. Please stay engaged, stay informed, and as always, please keep the faith.